Hello everyone. First time back on the lounge here since being back in Europe. It's pretty crazy to think that we're already one rally into our Junior World Championship campaign, considering that this time last year we were still in Australia. So it's very cool to have gotten the season underway. Rally Sweden, where do I even start? It was such a huge event for us, a huge build-up as well. I spent basically almost the whole of February away and putting all my energy into this rally and trying to do well in this rally. So it was obviously an up and down event for us. The overall result was not what we anticipated, and not what was on my mind after the first loop on Friday. But it's just the way it goes. We can be quite happy with the pace we showed. I think it was a very positive event overall. But really it all started with preparations. Basically, as soon as we landed back here in Finland, we were able to do a couple of tests, which was all thanks to my sponsors and supporters for making that a reality. We were able to do about 100 kilometres in Finland in a Rally 3 car, which was really, really helpful. Really gave us a bit of a sense of what we were in for, I suppose. I remember the first time I drove the car on snow, it was just like it's just so strange. It's a strange feeling. It's strange what you see out the windscreen because it can be all white, obviously. It was just very different, I suppose. But then already from the second test, we jumped in and we knew a bit more what to expect, and that kind of naturally built up, I suppose, towards the rally. So we were able to do 2 days of testing here in Finland, and then I was fortunate enough to go up to the north of Finland to Snow Rally Rings, which is like a huge rally complex. They have 150 plus kilometres of roads, and it's all like privately owned. And basically you can go there and test until your heart's content. So we were up there driving these BMWs, basically just sort of practicing our car control and getting a feel for the studded tyres and sort of how they work, and a bit of tuition on that side of things as well. Before heading to Norway, we spent basically 4 days in Norway. Each Rally Star driver got 1 day of driving each. And same thing, it was all about developing our skills on the snow and learning about the snow banks, when it's sort of safe to touch them and when it's not, and how the studded tyres work, and also the wear on the tyres is something to get used to, I suppose, because I found that between snow, gravel and tarmac, the snow tyre has obviously lots of grip. I would say more grip than on gravel when the tyre is brand new, but it doesn't last very long. In the conditions that we faced in Sweden, 50 kilometres and the tyre is more or less completely destroyed. So it's that took some getting used to for sure. But we were able to do, I think I did 200 kilometres of driving in Norway, so that was really, really good, really helpful. So it's interesting because I felt actually quite prepared going into Rally Sweden. I felt like I sort of knew what I was doing now, driving on the snow, and I was probably naive to think that it wasn't going to be easy, but that I knew how to do a snow rally in a sense. But there's so many things that you just don't realise until you actually do the rally. So I look back now and think, okay, I was prepared, and we had a good idea of what to expect, but there was almost like a whole another level of things that you can't prepare for until you do a rally. Like, for example, on the Saturday morning, because of the amount of snow we had on Friday, the stages had to be ploughed by the snow plough. Obviously, every time the snow plough goes through, the road will change a bit. So that was something I had to get used to, because then first stage on Saturday, I felt like my pace notes were really not that great. But I think some of it came down to the road being slightly different. Wider in places, narrower in places. It all, we try and make the notes so precise that every small detail can make a difference, sort of thing. So obviously the rally was a huge event in its own regard. Lots of drama, even in the top level of the WRC, all the way down to the juniors. Obviously a lot of build up to it with the 19 juniors. It's the most competitors they've had in the Junior World Championship since 2004, I believe. So competition was obviously really strong. We knew that going into the rally. The recce went pretty well, to be honest. Nothing really major that stood out, except the very first stage we recce'd was actually the stage that ended up causing us the dramas later in the rally, but just so fast. It's incredible. I remember getting to the end and Dan and I just looked at each other and sort of thought, there's going to be a competition of who's got the biggest balls. How are we going to do this? Like, it's just just so fast. So the roads aren't very technical. They're just flat out at this stage. Anyway, there's a couple of stages that are a bit different to that, but in general, it's, probably the fastest rally that I've ever done. It's the most time I've spent on the rev limiter, that's for sure. So, the recce went pretty well. Again, even conditions in reconnaissance were kind of tricky, especially the second day. Visibility was really difficult. The first stage we recce'd was really, really tricky, but we got through it. I think the notes were pretty good. We'd done a bit of work on them as well prior to the rally, and just fine-tuning things. So it was nice to get the recce out of the way, and then straight into the shakedown, which again, shakedown was pretty, obviously everyone takes it pretty safe in shakedown, but it was a surprise because that was the first time I really got to drive and see like a road that had been totally destroyed by the Rally 1 cars and Rally 2 cars. And it was actually not as bad as I was expecting, to be honest. Obviously there's ruts and the road gets really filthy dirty, but the grip was insane. It was my first time driving on like brand new tyres. All the testing we'd done was on secondhand tyres. So first time on brand new tyres, and I could not believe the grip. I remember the first corner, I sort of got through it and thought, whoa, that I could have, it could have been a gear higher. Like, it was incredible. So once you get used to that, then obviously then the feeling is not so much like the grip is really high, because you get used to it. And then as the tyres drop off, then the grip can get quite low as well. So there's a big fluctuation, I suppose, between brand new tyres and tyres that have done 50 Ks. So shakedown went well. First stage on Thursday night was pretty okay, I suppose. We just had a clean run. It wasn't super committed, but it was no mistakes anyway. So I was probably a bit surprised to see the second fastest time there, but I felt confident enough going into the rally, and then I saw that and thought, okay, there's no reason why we can't really do well here. We knew that some of the guys were going to be really quick. Obviously, we still always had to think that this is our first snow rally, so we have to take it as it comes, sort of thing. We seemed to carry that momentum into Friday. It was going really well. At the halfway point, we were sitting in the top 3, and things were looking really good. The pace was good, but still relatively comfortable. I think a lot of us were taking this same approach of just easing our way into it. The conditions were quite difficult, but it was interesting because people were saying how tricky the conditions were, so much fresh snow. But for Dan and I, we'd never done a snow rally, so we didn't know any different in a sense. So I think that was probably played into our advantage a bit, because we just drove with what we had, sort of thing, instead of thinking about it maybe too much. But the first loop went really well. And then the second loop was going not so bad as well. We were still hovering around second, third, right there, sort of in the fight. And then basically on the second last stage, I made a small mistake. It was basically a left over a brow that then sort of tightened, and actually on the first pass I came over it, and it's one of those nearly flat corners in fourth gear, I think. And as I come over it, the rear of the car sort of stepped, and I went really quite close to the bank, although the road was very narrow. And it was fine. I knew it was okay, no dramas. So on the second pass, I took the exact same line. The car did the exact same thing, and I didn't think twice about it, because I knew that it was going to be okay. And then bang! I took a small impact in the rear, nothing too major, but straight away from the first left-hand tyre, I felt that the tyre was off the rim. So so that was a bit annoying. It was strange, a bit of inexperience, I suppose, creeping in, because I've never had a puncture in a stage before. So it was a bit of trying to, I guess, decipher what that feels like. And I knew pretty quickly that it was a puncture, but it's hard to be 100% sure when it was my first time like that. So I drove on it for a couple of kilometres, and then not long after, then I felt the front tyre go as well. So when I knew I had 2 punctures, that was it. There was no choice. We had to stop.
Yeah. Do you want to stop? Right now, open. 150. Left 6, tight half 5. I think we're probably gonna have to. Maybe a double puncture. Yeah, okay.
But the annoying thing was the road was so narrow and so much fresh snow, the ruts were so big that I had to drive for maybe 4 or 5 minutes because there was nowhere to stop. So it was, again, one of those things that you wouldn't think of if you've never done a snow rally, but there was literally just nowhere to stop. So eventually we found a junction. We had to do the wheel change in 30 or 40 centimetre deep snow. It was a bit of a
Let's see what this is.
nightmare. The front wheel was stuck on. We had to get the hammer out and whack it off, and it was a disaster. So that was why we lost so much time. But yeah, it was hard to be disappointed, to be honest, because it was going so positively, so much better than we'd anticipated up until then. So that was that. Saturday was, a tricky day, to be honest. I struggled to get to the same level of pace and confidence that we had on the first day. So it was a bit difficult. I had a few little moments and spins and things. It was just not a very tidy day from my side. So that's the way it goes, I suppose. It was almost maybe a hit back to reality. And then the Sunday actually was going pretty well. Although if you look at the stage times, there was nothing super exuberant. I'd sat down with the engineers on Sunday morning and sort of said, where am I losing time? And we kind of worked out where I needed to improve. And actually the first stage was, we were up on the splits halfway through the stage, so it was going really well. The car felt really good. I struggled a little bit because I had brand new tyres on the front and used tyres on the rear, so I was struggling to contain the rear of the car slightly. And then, unfortunately we started to catch one of the cars in front of us, and I had a small overshoot and lost 15 seconds or so. So that was the end of that. But we still enjoyed the day, enjoyed the driving. It was more knowledge consumed, I suppose. Again, it was disappointing, the result, but it was hard to be disappointed because we really tried to enjoy the event as much as we could, with the whole thing of doing a WRC, especially doing a snow Rally Sweden, being on the other side of the world is such an incredible feeling. You're driving on the transports and you're passing the Rally 1 cars going the other way and that sort of thing. It's really, really surreal. It's funny because you want to know that or take in that we're part of the World Championship, but on the Saturday night, must have been, Dan and I were sitting in the hotel and sort of looked at each other and said, who's actually leading the rally? Like we were so in our own bubble. All the juniors were only focused on the Junior World Championship, and then it's after the event where we have to go back and recap what actually happened and who won the rally and all that sort of thing. So very surreal experience. Something I'll never ever forget. Obviously a huge roller coaster. A weekend in the WRC is so long. We were there for 9 days in total to do effectively mainly 3 days of rallying. So so much reconnaissance, media activities, homework on the event. It was really a huge experience. But I have to say, huge thanks to the FIA and the Rally Star program. If it wasn't for them, then I wouldn't be able to do it and be here. And thanks to all my sponsors and supporters back in Australia, because if it wasn't for them, then we wouldn't have been able to do such a good preparation and really come out of the blocks as quick as we did. So I'm really looking forward to Croatia, our next event on tarmac. It's going to be a huge challenge again, probably even more difficult than Sweden was, but I really enjoy Croatia. I've been there a couple of times. We've done the recce for the rally a few times last year where we spectated the rally, so we know the lay of the land a little bit, but for sure when you're there driving the stages, then it'll be extremely difficult. So really looking forward to it. Thanks everyone for the support, and we'll catch up soon. Cheers.